Blob storage accounts are one of Microsoft's oldest and most reliable services offered within Azure. So reliable that companies around the world rely on Azure Blob to store many exabytes worth of unstructured, business-critical data. But herein lies the problem. How do we rein in all of our Azure Blob data across all of our Azure tenants and subscriptions? And how do we protect it all in a consistent manner? And more importantly, can we be sure it's resilient against cyber attacks? Don't fret, Rubrik has you covered. Microsoft themselves say at the end of 2023, their Azure storage offerings were processing more than 1 quadrillion, that's 1,000 trillion transactions a month. This translates to over 100 exabytes of data being read and written to Azure storage offerings every single month. And Azure Blob plays a key role in storing and ensuring the integrity of this data. With an uptick in cyber attacks and regulatory needs, coupled with this explosion of data being generated, organizations are recognizing the need to protect this crucial and confidential data. But achieving complete cyber recovery for Azure Blob data is challenging for several reasons. The first is inconsistent data protection. Because of this large scale of data that Azure Blob hosts, it's difficult for customers to apply data protection policies to it, especially when it's spread out across what can be at times hundreds or thousands of Azure tenants. Nobody wants to manage a data protection solution for each individual Azure tenant or subscription. Secondly is just slow recovery. Restoring entire storage accounts just to recover a dozen or so individual blob objects is not efficient. Organizations need the ability to quickly search for specific blobs and restore just them. That said, if an entire storage account restoration is required, it needs to be performed efficiently without lengthy and complex processes to hold up the restoration. And finally, backing up and restoring Azure storage account data always has the potential to rack up several unexpected service charges. Customers need the ability to leverage the lower cost storage tiers provided by Microsoft to host their backups, making sure that backup data doesn't cost the same to host as your production data. And it's these three challenges that Rubrik set forth to solve within our Azure Blob and Azure Data Lake Gen2 protection. First, we deliver a unified interface to manage your Azure storage account data protection needs. One spot to manage all your storage accounts across all of your Azure tenants, subscriptions, and regions. Secondly, Rubrik provides flexible options as it pertains to restoration. You can restore a single blob object or an entire storage account, and you can restore this all back to its original storage account or to a completely new storage account. And finally, Rubrik provides air-gapped, immutable storage locations across all of the Azure storage access tiers, including the archive tier, to utilize as backup targets. The data is compressed and never leaves the confines of your managed accounts. This all contributes to lowering an organization's overall total cost of ownership. So with that, let's dive into Rubrik Security Cloud and check it out. Now, before we get too far into the demo, I just want to mention that you can follow along and get your own hands-on experience with Rubrik's Azure Blob protection by leveraging our Rubrik Explore Lab. There's a link down in the description to get to it, and it only takes a second, and you can check out everything we're going to cover for yourself. So with that, let's kick it off with onboarding your Azure tenant into Rubrik Security Cloud. This is a simple process that involves you simply inputting your Azure Active Directory domain, providing one-time credentials for authentication, and simply selecting the regions you'd like to utilize Rubrik's data protection within. Rubrik will then go out and configure a service principal and application registration that can be utilized for all subsequent backup and recovery tasks. The initial credentials are immediately purged from memory, and they're never stored within Rubrik Security Cloud. Once the tenant has been onboarded, Rubrik automatically discovers and inventories all of the Azure Blob storage accounts within the newly added tenants and presents that information through the intuitive user interface. This includes storage accounts located on the hot, cool, and cold tiers. That said, before we can back these storage accounts up, we need to have a place to store that data. Rubrik leverages Azure Blob to provide a storage target for Azure Blob backups. These storage targets can live on the hot access tier, the cool access tier, the cold access tier, and for those customers looking to lower their TCO even further, storage targets can also be configured on the archive access tier. Rubrik handles the entire creation of blob storage targets. We simply enter in what tenant we'd like to host the target, as well as the region and access tier information. Rubrik will go out and automatically create that storage target for us. Backups can be hosted within that same tenant as the source data, or to provide an air gap solution, they can also be created within a completely different tenant than the one that hosts the source data. Rubrik's Azure Blob and data lake Gen2 protection leverages the same SLA domain policy engine as other workloads protected by RSC as well. Creating these SLA domains is a simple task. Simply define your RPO and retention values, select your backup target, give it a name, and you're done. Now, it's just a matter of assigning that SLA domain to our storage accounts, which can be done on a number of different hierarchical levels. First, we can assign an SLA domain at the subscription level. This ensures that any existing as well as any newly created storage accounts within that Azure subscription will automatically inherit the SLA domain assignment and automatically be protected by Rubrik. Data protection is no longer an afterthought when you assign an SLA domain at the subscription level. It's also possible to assign SLA domains on the resource group level. Similar to that of a subscription, any storage accounts, existing or new, within the specified resource group will automatically inherit the SLA domain assignment and again automatically be protected by Rubrik. We can also assign SLA domains directly to the storage account themselves. Any direct storage account level assignment will override the assignment inherited from the subscription or resource group. Customers often leverage a subscription level assignment with a high RPO to provide a base level protection, and then they override that on their most important storage accounts with a direct assignment of an SLA that takes more regular backups throughout the day. And of course, for those looking to integrate data protection into deployment pipelines or infrastructure as code plans, SLA domains can be assigned based off Azure tag key values. This allows developers and cloud architects to simply tag their Azure Blob storage account, and when Rubrik detects that tag within a tag rule, an SLA will be automatically assigned to the storage account. But we all know that backup alone is no good without recovery, and Rubrik delivers fast, efficient recovery for your Azure Blob data. First, we could search within a storage account, either by manually drilling through the files and folders or by utilizing Rubrik's intelligent and fast search capabilities to find the blob object that we need to restore. Recovering the blobs is simple. Select the objects or folders we're looking for, click Recover, then select the preferred recovery option. Rubrik can recover blob objects in place, meaning they'll go back to the original storage account and overwrite any production data that exists, or Rubrik can recover the blobs to an entirely different storage account located in any one of the onboarded Azure tenants. Need to recover an entire storage account? No problem. Find your point in time, select to recover the entire storage account, and again, choose whether to recover in place, back to the original storage account, or export to another storage account within your Azure accounts. And to add to all of this, Rubrik leverages a true least privilege model as it pertains to restoration. What this means is that Rubrik doesn't require standing write access to your Azure tenants. When it comes time to restore, you can temporarily elevate Rubrik's permissions in order to perform the recovery. Once done, the recovery permissions can be automatically removed, and this increases an organization's overall security posture and minimizes risk within the environment. Safeguarding your data within Azure storage accounts and Azure Data Lake Gen2 is crucial in ensuring the availability, confidentiality, and integrity of an organization's critical information. With Rubrik, protecting your Azure storage accounts is as easy as onboarding your Azure tenants and applying an SLA domain, all from within a unified interface that manages all of your data protection needs across all of your Azure tenants. Whether you're a large enterprise with thousands of storage accounts located across hundreds or thousands of subscriptions, or you're a small business leveraging a single storage account in a single subscription, Rubrik Security Cloud has you covered. To learn more about Rubrik's Azure Blob and Azure Data Lake Gen2 protection, visit rubrik.com/Azure or follow the links in the description to our product page and self-paced hands-on lab. Thanks for watching.